So Marvel's Inhumans is a thing now. Did you see it? Man, I saw it. I went to the cinema and everything. I paid real life money. Instant regret. And afterwards I said, whoa, that was totally a thing. And then immediately asked the question of how? How is this a thing? I mean, the number of bad decisions that have to have been made to lead us here is staggering. I mean, it is literally unthinkable to imagine a sequence of events that would lead anyone to spending money on this obvious disaster of a project, and yet here we are. It's in cinemas, and people have actually paid money to see it. Not many people, mind, but still, how on earth did we get here? So, I mean, I thought I'd do a video to take a quick look at that, so let's start at the beginning. The Inhumans are characters who first appeared in issue 45 of Fantastic Four back in 1965. They went on to appear in a few different comics until they got their own 12-issue series in the 70s. Over the next 2 decades, they only made a handful of comic book appearances until 1998, when they got a brand new 12-issue run that was acclaimed and earned the characters all sorts of newfound popularity. These days they appear regularly amongst the pages of Marvel Comics, even playing important roles in some of their big crossover events. And I'm sure they're great, or not, I don't know. Haven't read any of it. So let's jump to 2014, when Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige announced this.
November 2nd, 2018 introduces not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but dozens of new heroes into the cinematic universe. It will be our 20th film. It seemed time to open the floodgates a little bit wider.
And at the time, it made complete sense to me. In 2014, Marvel had just gambled on another low-tier property about a little-known super team called Galaxy of Guardians or something like that, and they tell me that turned out alright. But despite this proven recipe for success, over time Marvel got cold feet for some reason, first delaying it and then cancelling the film outright. During that time, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show over on ABC had managed to set up the existence of Inhumans without introducing any of the key players from the Inhumans comics. Eventually Kevin Feige did hint it would become a TV series, and here we are, yet another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spin-off. I mean, that's guaranteed to be a hit, right? I mean, Marvel had such success on TV so far, haven't they? I mean, they've had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is sometimes good and sometimes bad, but just about has sufficient ratings to support itself, so they keep making more. And then you got Peggy Carter. I mean, that was good. I mean, no one watched it, but it was good. People liked that show. And do you remember Marvel's Most Wanted? Inhumans, everybody! Yeah, Inhumans is a thing now. Guaranteed to work. Spend all the money on it, guys. All the money. Because, you know, history and that. You know, proven success with Agents and Carters and Wanteds and... yeah, Inhumans! Well, evidently the good people at IMAX didn't accept the sarcasm and actually offered to pick up the bill for the first 2 episodes. In return, the episodes would be shot on IMAX cameras and premiere in IMAX screens for a special 2-week run that led up to the show's launch. I get the impression this is like when Bill Murray decided to voice Garfield because he thought the Coen brothers wrote the script. You know, the acclaimed writer-director duo behind films like Fargo, Big Lebowski, and No Country for Old Men, when it was actually written by a guy called Joel Cohen, who wrote such classics as Evan Almighty and Cheaper by the Dozen. This is just like that to me. I'm pretty sure the IMAX guys thought they were getting to work with Marvel Studios. You know, the guys who make all those movies worth billions. And then someone took a closer look at the deal and was like, wait, Marvel Television? Wait, is this... Who's Ike Perlmutter?
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
So it was happening. So who and what are Inhumans? Well, the basic premise of the comic book Inhumans is that millions of years ago, an alien race called the Kree experimented on primitive Homo sapiens that lived on Earth to try and create a race of powerful mutant creatures to help fight their war against another group of aliens called the Skrulls. But they heard a prophecy thing about how these experiments would end their civilization or something, so they just boned out, like leaving the experiments to fend for themselves. So these Inhumans formed their own society, who thrived in secret alongside the Outhumans? Inhumans? Oh, I don't know. Original recipe humans? Their society flourished technologically in secret, and they even eventually managed to move to the moon. Yes, you heard that right, and while we're on the more insane elements of this comic, they also have a giant mutant teleporting bulldog named Lockjaw, who is, by the way, absolutely the best thing about these episodes. The dramatic thrust of the comic seems to be examining the society and culture that formed around these secluded superhumans, their rigid caste system, the royal family, and the various attempts to usurp the king. In the show, young Inhumans are exposed to alien crystals that awaken the mutant powers in them. The powers are completely random in nature, and people who get good ones get to live in the upper class of society, and if you get a crap power, like gills or something, off you go to work in the mines. So you're probably thinking the show must be about lower class Inhumans rising up and overthrowing this oppressive regime. Well, the other way round, for some reason. That's right, our protagonists are the king and queen ruling over this nonsense. They're the protagonists, the people we're supposed to be rooting for. You heard this correctly. The caste system is so clearly a terrible idea, the show is never going to get me on the side of those enforcing it. And if I'm not on the side of the heroes, how in the world am I going to care about any of what I'm witnessing? Now, from what I gather, this is also part of the comics, but as I haven't read them, I'm not going to make any assumptions about how that's handled here, but what I will say is that this is by far the TV adaptation's biggest flaw. They don't do anything at all to make me see that this caste system is somehow a good thing for the people of this moon city. So when the bad guys start doing their bad guy things to overthrow the king and queen, I was like, good, do it, they're bad people. These are bad leaders, it's a backward society, let's overthrow them, it's not good. Also, while we're on the subject of them getting powers at a young age, if Medusa wasn't born with her hair-based powers, were her parents psychic? Because if not, that is some incredible foresight. I'll call her Medusa and hope for the best. That'd be like my parents naming me failed fat YouTuber. Oh, sadness. Then again, if we're questioning the names the last generation of Inhumans gave their children, the current king of this society, Black Bolt's full name is Blackagar Boltagon. I am not making this up. No wonder he shortened it to Black Bolt. It's exactly why I go by Dan Doolin these days and not my given name of Danagar Doulagon. Anyway, the rumour is that the production budget across all 8 episodes is somewhere between $80 and $100 million, which might be miles off the real figure, but even if that's only kind of accurate, that's a lot of money to spend. Anything in that region is huge, and rumours also suggest they had to spend $100,000 just fixing Medusa's hair after the early feedback of that was not strong. Then again, you know, with a theatrical cut and the Marvel name stamped all over it, maybe it'll make loads of money. Maybe it'll do... Oh no. Seriously though, who in their right mind thought that this would be worth that sort of money? Game of Thrones costs $10 million an episode to produce, and that's frickin' Game of Thrones. Honestly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is considered an expensive show to make, with a rumoured budget of $5 to $6 million an episode, and that only pulls a modest rating at best. Did they really expect this cheap-looking disaster to garner enough interest to justify paying twice that? Sure, the IMAX people are picking up the tab for the first 2 episodes, and that does make it more palatable, but again, how all this came to be is still an utter mystery to me. They couldn't have been banking on quality or word of mouth to help them recoup those costs, surely. Did they not read the script? Did they not stick their heads around the edit bay door and watch the dailies? Did they not look at the finished product at all? It is terrible on almost every conceivable level. The script is a mess, the dialogue is stilted and awkward, almost nothing of note happens in the second part, rendering it boring. The special effects and sets are exposed as cheap looking on the IMAX cameras, and it has none of the scale that an episode of Game of Thrones has, despite graduating to a much bigger screen and having an almost identical budget. I have so many questions about how this absolute omnishambles came to be. Considering how many gatekeepers there are in Hollywood, the notion this made it to our screens is baffling to me on every level, and I'm not sure I will ever truly understand how we got here. But one thing is clear, it is kind of a victim of circumstance. Had it just needed to be a TV show, it might have been serviceable like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., And had it been given the full Marvel movie treatment, it could have been something exceptional like Guardians of the Galaxy. Yet somehow, Marvel let it fall between the cracks instead. A weird failed experiment, a TV show destined to be cancelled because its ratings will never justify its cost. And with its tragic reviews and its theatrical release already cut by a week, this may well go down in TV as one of the weirdest missteps a major network has ever made. So that is everything from me, but for my full review of the Inhumans opening 2 episodes, be sure to check out episode 131 of our Nothing But Static podcast, which is releasing in a week's time on the 17th of September. And also, of course, subscribe and stuff, or don't, it's fine. I'm not sure it's acceptable to pressure you into pressing a button that guarantees I'll annoy you with content you might not even want to see, and all I get out of that is a small but fleeting moment of joy, followed by crippling sadness as I realise how empty it all is. Wait, I'm still talking. Get out of my head.